Hi all, so welcome to the today's tutorial. So previously we have covered values, variables, loops and all. So today we will cover the functions. So functions or events inside the blueprint, these are the combination of instructions. So if you will see here in the begin play, it's an event. As soon as it will trigger, we are executing some commands. Like this is one command, this is another command. So it's the set of commands we are writing down. That's it. So function or event is the combination of commands. That's it. It's quite easy, but why we usually write functions or the event, so we can reuse the code again and again. Let's imagine there is some function. Okay, so let's have a real life example. Let's imagine you want to prepare a tea, and you must have seen the coffee machine. So in that coffee machine there is a function called make tea or make coffee. So whenever you are pressing that button, it will call that function, it will execute the same instruction again and again, it will prepare a coffee for you. That is why its taste is consistent, because nothing is changing inside that function. Okay, so how we usually create a function inside Unreal. So first let's have the difference between the event and the functions. In the event, we can use any command which is time consuming. Let's imagine we can use delay. So it is showing that clock. That means that it will not trigger, after this node. It will wait for some duration. We can also use timeline. So any time consuming constraint, we can't use it in the function. This is the basic difference. In events are like, okay, something has happened. Function is not like that. Another difference is like in function, whenever you will call it, you are expecting something from that function. Okay, so let me show you how the functions look like. Let me relate this. So you have the perfect understanding of like the event. So at the left hand side you can see this is the function. Just press the plus button and I will call it as add function. Add two variables. So this is a function. So there are multiple parts inside the function. So one is, do you want to get something out from this function? So as you can read, it is adding the two variables. So first we need to input two variables, right? So in the input I will a and b, and we have to define what type of data we are expecting. When we are adding two values, it should be the integer, float, or anything, right? So I am taking a and b float, and I will add that. Okay. So as soon as it is adding, I want this function to give me that value, which we will say like, okay, this function is returning this, right? So I will write the return command and I will add this. So you can see in the output addition value. As soon as you will drag drop this node, it will give this value. In the event graph, in the begin play, what I can do, I can call this function add to variable. So this is how we usually call a function. Now you can see it is expecting two input. Let's put 2 and 3, and in the output you can see it is giving me the addition value. Let's print out this value and let's check if it is working or not. Play. At the left you can see it is 5, so it is working as expected. So this is how we usually call a function. So what I can do, I can call this function anywhere. Let's imagine at left click I do want to have some calculations on whenever I'm clicking left. So what I will do, left mouse click, at this button I do want to add some variables and I do want to print something out. Print the addition value 23, 23. Let me remove this and let's remove this function from the begin play. So whenever I am clicking left, see, I am clicking left again and again, and it is giving us that value. So this is the use of function, like we are executing the same command again and again. So the usual use of this is like, let's imagine you are playing a game like PUBG, we must have all played, or the Counter Strike. Whenever we are clicking left, it is shooting a bullet, right? So it's an iterative process, and we are performing that task again and again. So we will put all the instructions inside a function, and we will call that function again and again whenever we do want to shoot. So this is how we usually call a function inside the blueprint. Now we will see how we can do the same inside the C++. So let me remove this, compile and save. So here comes the CPP part. First, you can see, like, whatever you can see here, it's they are all functions. First, void. So this, first let's see the architecture. So this here we will write the return type, name of function, here input, and these are the instructions which we are expecting. So if we want to have the comparison in function, see, first we put the name of the function, right? Add two values. So what we will do, give me a second. Okay, perfect. So first, let's put name of the function, add two values. Okay. Second thing which we did, we put we do want to have the two inputs, right? A and B. What I will do, I will put the A. So let's have the float type, float A comma float B. Okay. And the next thing was we returned some value, and we returned a float value, right? So we will write a float value. So everything is done right now. As we have said, okay, I do want to have the float value. That means this function have to return something out, because here also whenever this will execute it, it will return something out. So in this case we are doing the addition and we are returning this value. So we will do the same here. I will return A plus B. That's it. Okay. Now I can call this function. Let me put this here above begin play. Let me remove all the comments. We don't want that. In the begin play I will remove all the code, and here I will call add two values, 23 comma 23, and let's execute it. As we are returning, see, one thing is like, if you can see, this is how usually how we can call a function here. So how we were doing the things in the blueprint, we were clicking right and writing the function name, add two variables, right? This is how we usually call it in the blueprint part. But in the C++, we will write the value, we will write the function name, we'll put the bracket, and we have to put the values, like what do we want to have the value inside those variables, 23 and 23. As soon as it will call this function, it will go here and it will return, it will give me the value of A plus B. In this case it is 23 plus 23, so 46 it will give. So we are not printing out this value and we are not saving that value. So first let's save the value, float addition value, addition output is equals to. So now we have stored the value. Now I will put this in the ulog, log temp warning comma text. So %d means, okay, I do want to print the float. Okay, for float we have to type %f. So in this case addition output, this is what I do want to print out. So I think we have created the equivalent case. So let's delete this function. Let me compile the code again, and we can see we have write this function. We are calling this function in the begin play, so it will execute automatically as soon as game will play. So the log check output we have in the log term, we can see the warning and it is giving us the value 46.000. So this is how the function works inside the C++. So let's have a task. So I have created this function for the addition. For you, the task is you have to create the same function, but it will do the multiplication. Second, create one more function which will do the division. And yep, so this is your task. Now let's make it more interesting. So we will create a function in which, so previously we have covered the for loop, while loop, right? So in this we will create one more thing. We just call it the decision making statement. So okay, let's imagine if we are having the two variables and you do want to get the like a variable which is more or which is greater than the other. So I will have so first let's create that function inside the blueprint. So here I will create the function called get greater number. Okay, we will have the two input, param1 and param2. That's totally okay for me, or we can just rename it A or B. So like there here comes the if command. So because let's imagine if out of these two A is greater, we will just return A, else we will return B, correct? So in that case, just click B and click left button. Keep pressing B and click left button. So what we will do, if A is greater than, right? So if A is greater than 0, so we are checking. So in the checking, we are doing the branching. If A is greater than 0, what we will do? We will do the return statement. Return, we will return A in this case, right? I will copy paste it. In false, I will return B. In return output, I will greater number. Compile and save. So it's quite easy logic, right? So branch is usually used for like if you want to check something out. Here I'm checking if A is greater than 0 or not. Sorry, if A is greater than B or not. We'll check if A is greater than B. That means I just have to put return the A. So that is I am returning A. Else I am returning B. Quite easy. So in the begin play, what I will do, I will call this function get greater number, and let's put 33 and be 34. So in this case I should have the output 34. So print, let's put it here and try. I'm playing, it is giving 34, which is correct, right? Now how we will do the same thing but inside this C++. So let me go here. I will again, I do want to have the float value get greater number, float A, float B. So if so in branch is not there, so branch equivalent is the if statement. If A is greater than B, right? If A is greater than B, return A, else. So else is the false part inside the blueprint. So here when we were checking, if you will see, we in the branch we have true and false. So here this is the true part and this is the false part. So else return B. Quite easy, right? And we just have to call this function. What I will do, I will just duplicate it. We'll comment this out. Get greater number 23 and 35. Greater number, and we will just output the greater number. In the event graph, I will remove this, compile and save, and here I will compile the code again. Everything is done. Let's execute it. Now you can see in the warning in the output log we do have the 35 value. So everything working as expected. So this was the branch statement which we usually use. So there are other decision nodes also which usually we use. One is the switch statement. Let's check how we will do it. Okay, so your task using the same thing, like if else statement, create one function, but it has to be between three variables. So we have created a functionality between a and b. You have to do the same, but it should give the greatest number between a, b, and c. So this is your task. Okay, next command is called the switch statement. Switch on int. Okay, so switch command is like if I do want to execute something out, output something out on some value. So let's imagine so okay, let me undo this function. We will create one more function so things remain consistent. I will create one more function, say hi on 1. So in the input I will have index. I'm just putting the random name here. So if index, and let me have the integer here. So if the I do want, like, if the index is 1, then it will say hi, or else it will say no. It will print no. So this is a simple function. So what we will do, one thing, one we can also use the if statement in that case, but we will use the switch statement. Or let's imagine I do want high on 1 and 2. Okay. So let me add pins here. Okay. So let's imagine, like, if we do want to say hi on 1 and 2, and except 1 and 2 we want say no or something else. So we will say hi, print hello on 1 and 2, or say hi. And if it is not the case, then in default on 0 we will say I am not interested. Okay, compile and save. So as you can see, like, we are not returning anything here, right? Like, I don't want anything from this function. I just want to print hi or I'm not interested. So to call this function, again the same drill. In the event function, after begin play, I will say hi on 1 and 2. It should we should rename this, but if the index is 0, it is saying I'm not interested. But if the index is 1, it will say hi. Perfect. Now your task is to have the same thing inside the C++. So let's do it. So let's go to the C++. So begin play. So first, when you don't want anything returned from the function, we will just write void, say hi on 1 and 2. In the input part, I do want to have like index. So 1 is like try to have the same thing using if statement, and we will check the switch statement. So in the switch, first just you just have to put the value on which you do want to check the things on, and I will say case 1 break, case 2 break, default break. So let's see what we are doing here. So if it is 1, I will say UE log temp warning text, say hi, copy. we do want to have the same thing in 2, but in the default I will write I am not interested. So this is how the switch statement works. We are putting break because let's imagine if it is case 1 and we are not putting break, it will continue going and checking everything out if it is matching to some other statement or not. Okay, so that's why I'm just putting break here. So in the begin play, now I am not storing or getting any value from this function because it is a void type. So we can just directly write say hi on 1 and 2, and in the index part I will just putting 1. Let me open my Unreal. Let me compile the code. Let's play. It is saying hi. If I will put 0 or some other, let's imagine 2 2 2 2 2, something like that. Let me compile the code again. Let me play, and it is saying I am not interested. So this is how the switch statement works. So that was it for today. I think we covered the aspect how we should use functions, and you should have fair understanding how we should use if statement, switch statement and all. If you are liking this series, do like and subscribe, and have a nice day. Bye bye.